23 seconds on the power play. Shot a goal, rebound shot, he scores! King in front of the net like he's done all game, buries that rebound 2-0.
What a great job by the Cougars. A really good chance there. Just had to tap it in, but he couldn't.
On the Prowl, keeping up with the Mount Royal University Cougars.
Welcome to On the Prowl, keeping up with the MRU Cougars, the Mount Royal University Cougars radio segment on the Sportsnet Fan 960, where we talk university athletics. Coming up on this segment of On the Prowl, we talk men's hockey as the MRU Cougars and the University of Calgary Dinos rekindled their cross-city rivalry. We also look forward to next weekend when the Cougars basketball teams will host their annual Shoot for the Cure basketball games. I'm Jordan Magnuson.
And I'm Dylan Dodge, and right now we're going to jump into a Cougar recap. And Jordan, we had a lot of hockey on the weekend. How'd we do?
Men's hockey improved to 6-4-2 with 2 wins over the University of Regina Cougars. Mount Royal hammered Regina 9-2 and 6-3 as the offense buried 15 goals on back-to-back nights. Players Grant Baker, Tanner Olstad, Tyler Fiddler, Cody Karche, and Matt Brown all racked up 4 points over the weekend action. On the women's side, they're still trying to find their consistency as they lost 5-2 to Regina and won 6-2 in the next night. The team is now 5-6-1 overall. Jocelyn Falick hit 4 assists on her matchup on Saturday, giving her 7 assists in total in 12 games this season. She's also second in the CIS with a plus 11 rating. And let's move away from hockey. Dylan, you got some basketball updates for us.
Yeah, we certainly had some basketball on the weekend, you and I covering that for CanadaWest.tv, and that was against Kamloops, a.k.a. Thompson Rivers University. The Cougars, both teams unable to find the win column. On the men's side, Valdemir Iagarov and Josh Wolfram dominated the Cougars, combining for 110 points and 36 rebounds, en route to a 101-72 and 79-66 win for TRU.
And you know what, Jordan? Despite the losses this weekend for the men's side, I think there's a lot of positives to take out of this. One of them being Brett Layton. He has had a fine form of play so far early on in the season, and I think that'll continue, and I hope that it'll continue.
He's a shot, tries to drive the lane, has to stop up looking for a hook shot. He nails that one, and 81-65 to score. Bretton Layton gets his 28th point of the game.
Standing at a whopping 6'8", Brett Layton has been pursued by Mount Royal for quite some time. This year, in his rookie season, he currently is in 3rd in the Canada West for field goal percentage with 68.4. At Sir Winston Churchill, he averaged 15 points per game in his senior year and got a reputation of playing hard in the paint and rebounding.
And here's the great part about Brett Layton. He's a first year, 6'8", great vision, absolutely solid player. I mean, I think he's had a really good game overall. The points don't lie. I think he's had a really good start to the season. His name's up there as much as Lefebvre, as much as Wolf, guys that have been in the roster for quite some time.
You can imagine with that sheer size and strength that he's not only an offensive threat, but also a defensive wall. So far this season, Layton is averaging 8.3 rebounds per game, while also averaging nearly 20 points per game, including some big point nights for him against TRU as well as McEwen.
On the women's side, it was once again a struggle to put the ball in the net in their first game as the Cougars lost 70-43. However, they did concede the fewest points they've ever had in the season so far, and when they did find the basket more, the next night, they came up short 72-62. In volleyball last week, we did have a bye week, but volleyball will be returning to the Kenyon courts this weekend. The men's and the women's, both 4-4 records. However, the women's won both of their games in Manitoba the week before last. Meanwhile, the men's side haven't won a set since taking on the University of Regina here at Mount Royal earlier in October.
The Cougars and Dinos face off at Father David Bauer Arena this evening at 6 p.m. The Cougars were 3-0-1 in the regular season against the Dinos last year and outscored them 11-6. The Dinos' only win against MRU was a 5-4 shootout win after losing the Crowchild Classic the night before at the Scotiabank Saddledome. However, the Dinos won where it really mattered when they eliminated the Cougars from the playoffs 2-1 in a best-of-3 semifinal, including a Game 1 double overtime battle that they won 3-2. UFC is 4-5-3 on the season, and it is strange to see the usually dominant Canada West team out of the playoff picture. The Dinos have top scorers Chris Collins, Elgin Pierce, and Kevin King returning, but they lost some key pieces in Cody Curran, one of the best defensemen in the entire CIS. He graduated and is now playing for the ECHL. Goaltenders Jacob DeSaris and Chris Lazaruk both split the net-minding duties last year and also have both moved on to the ECHL. leaving a pretty big hole to fill for former UBC goaltender Steven Stanford and first-year CIS goaltender Miles Hovdebo.
So that basically does it for the Cougar recap here on the Prowl. But we definitely want to talk more about the Shoot for the Cure basketball game that Jordan alluded to at the beginning of the program. The CIS Women's Basketball Shoot for the Cure campaign is in support of the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation and has proven an overwhelming success since its launch in the fall of 2007, with over $886,000 in donations. The journey of the basketball starts at the University of Victoria and will hit every CIS women's basketball campus during the season and will conclude with Memorial passing the ball off to UNB at the National Championship in March. Over the course of its cross-country journey, the Pink Wilson basketball will be signed by every CIS head coach. On Friday, November 27th, Mount Royal will host their Shoot for the Cure game versus the UNBC Timberwolves at 6 p.m. To contribute to the fundraiser, you can make a purchase of a raffle ticket for $10, a 50-50 ticket at the game, or directly make a donation to the Canadian Breast Cancer Foundation. Jordan Magnuson is currently sitting down with head coach of the women's basketball team, Nate McKibben, to talk more about the Shoot for the Cure basketball game and the women's season overall so far.
All right, I am here with Coach Nate McKibben, head coach of the women's basketball team. And so let's talk about the season so far. And obviously at 0-4, it's not the start you're actually looking for. But you were talking about how this is a team that you want to see progress with. How do you evaluate your season so far?
We actually use quite a bit of analytics when we're evaluating our own performance, whether that be individually or collectively as a group. So for every one of our games, we have 6 goals, and 4 of those are purely based on ratios. So we're actually evaluating our performance after every game, not only on wins and losses, but also have we been able to make progress according to the last competition, and also where we feel we should be. So even at 0-4, we've made huge progress over the last couple weeks and had a great performance against Thompson Rivers there on Saturday, against one of the better teams in our league, and also a very good team that's competitively nationally. I think we did a much better job.
And one of those better jobs, especially, is coming from your defensive side. You're definitely trimming down on defense. What has changed over the last couple of games that's improved this defense of yours?
I think we got back to what made us successful early. I think early we worked exceptionally hard. We had great energy coming on the court and also on the bench. I think we just got back to playing fast and playing hard. If you play with a lot of intensity, a lot of effort, you can really make up for a lot of mistakes that you traditionally make. If you're back on your heels and you play slow, teams can sort of capitalize on that, but I think we just got back to playing fast.
Let's talk about your upcoming game against UBC Okanagan. What do they bring to the table?
They're funny. They're actually very similar to us. They may not have as much size in the post, but their guards are exceptionally aggressive. They get up in pressure. They try to play fast. They shoot the ball exceptionally well, so we're going to have to make sure that we're getting out on their shooters. But, a first-year coach in that program as well, a fair bit of turnover. But so they play very similar to us, just maybe not with the same depth in the post. But their guards are exceptionally strong, and they shoot the ball very, very well.
One more specifically on the matchup ahead here. I know it's going to be a team effort, but are there 1 or 2 players that stand out in this matchup? Players like Driscoll, maybe Seguir off the bench?
We're not a team that can really be dominated by 1 or 2 players. We need a team performance. Everyone's got to step up and play, do their part. And, we mentioned 2 players that have been doing it consistently. Ange is always a defensive presence, but her offensive game is starting to round out. She hit her first 3 this weekend. Her outside shot has definitely come along in practice. Yaz is being a physical presence inside every single time she's on the court. She's getting to the free throw line and doing a great job of capitalizing on those opportunities.
So you have UBC Okanagan this weekend, and the weekend after that is actually going to have a Shoot for the Cure weekend, and that'll be here at Mountain Royal. Let's talk about that event and what makes it so special to Mountain Royal itself.
I think it's bigger than Mount Royal. The Women's Basketball Coaching Association about 9 years ago started this initiative, and in that time have raised over $800,000. This year, if we match last year's number, it'll officially go over $1 million in 10 years. It's something that's very near and dear to all of our hearts. Everyone is affected in some way by breast cancer. And it's just our way to make sure that people are being educated about it and also making sure that we're giving back and making sure that we're donating to breast cancer research.
And what kind of initiatives have those girls taken in contributing and raising money to the cause?
The major one we have is we've gone out to local businesses in the community and asked for donations as far as gift cards. We're going to be doing a raffle for the gift cards, what we call a gift card tree. So our players will be out in the community, we'll be selling them at games, and we'll actually be doing the raffle or holding the official pulling of the ticket during the halftime of the men's game on the 27th during our Shoot for the Cure event.
That was women's basketball head coach Nate McKibben. His team is in UBC Okanagan this weekend. Next weekend, they'll be at the Kenyon Courts over at Mount Royal University for the Shoot for the Cure event. As the only returning starter from last year's Cougars squad, Angela Driscoll knows the pressure of leading the new look Mount Royal team. But when she's on the court, however, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better full-court player than number 5 in blue.
Good strip of the ball, reading that one is Driscoll. She's going to come down, looking to get the lay-in to go. She nails that one, and that will be 16-7 in favor of the Mount Royal Cougars.
While she is second on the team in scoring, Driscoll is also great defensively and is third in the conference in steals. Driscoll has appeared in the last 24 games for the Cougars, proving that while she is in fact a hard-nosed competitor, she is also very durable. The Cougars will look for her to guide them to the win column when they visit UBC Okanagan this weekend.
Angela Driscoll was an unbelievable force out there offensively. Look to her to lead these Cougars to some more points here tonight.
This weekend will be no easy test as UBC Okanagan is off to a 3 wins, 1 loss start to the season. Driscoll's teammate Drew Knox says that if her team sticks to the basics, they have a great shot at coming out on top.
It's definitely all the little things this week. Boxing out, pushing in transition, hitting the open shots when we get the chance, and definitely capitalizing on all of the opportunities that we do get.
Welcome to this week's segment of the Cougars Fast Break. I'm Spencer Schultz, and I'll be asking Dylan Dodge and Jordan Magnuson 4 quick questions about Cougars athletics. They'll have 15 seconds to plead their case before I cut them off with this sound. Let's begin. This one's for you, Dylan. The men's volleyball team is in a losing skid. Will they break that this weekend?
I believe they certainly will. I mean, they have a very good team and this year, and I think that with the amount of seniors they have, they can definitely beat UBC. Andrew McWilliam will certainly lead them to glory with all of his smashing and killing.
And you, Jordan, what are your opinions on this?
I agree. I think it'll take them about a game or two to finally get going, but the Saturday night game is when they're going to get started and actually put that win down. They're going to end that losing skid. They've got a lot of talent up front, but they're having a hard time communicating, coordinating right now. They're going to get the job done on the Saturday night game.
All right, good answers, boys. Men's basketball first year, Brett Layton, is off to an amazing start point-wise. Is this a case of a beginner's luck?
Absolutely not. This guy is an absolute monster, and he's going to be a core piece in the Mount Royal Cougar squad for years to come. He was taking on guys like Josh Wolfram, a monster at 6'10", an all-star athlete. Yeah, Layton had no problems not only defending him, but scoring as well. Watch for this guy to be a monster for years to come.
Ooh, Jordan, given those long-winded answers, all right, and over to you, Dylan.
He's in absolute fine form, and I think he might drop off a little bit. I mean, he's a first year. You got to expect him to have some sort of flaws that can be improved on, but I think overall, this is a very promising player to come for Mount Royal Cougars.
All right, long-winded answers from you, Jordan, but nothing from Dylan. Dylan's keeping under the par. This question goes out to you to start off, though, Jordan. The women's basketball team is off to a 0-4 start to the season. What is the key factor they need to improve for their first win of the season?
The main factor is going to be shutting them down on defense. Their defense is having some struggles this season. It's slowly getting better and better, but there's some issues coming in, not only from the key, but the perimeter as well. They're giving up a lot of open looks at the three-point area, and if they want any chance of improving the season, they've got to shut down that long-range shot.
All right, and for you, Dylan, to bring us home?
I usually agree that defense leads offense, but right now, they're having a hard time putting the ball in the basket. They've had their best defensive game last weekend against TRU, but they can't get anything going. I mean, they even have the time clock violations constantly against them, so offense is where they need to focus.
Ooh, kind of close. Well, thank you, Dylan, and that's all we have for this week's Cougars Fast Break. Tune in next week for more fast-paced answers with Dylan Dodge and Jordan Magnuson.
That's it for this week's edition of On the Prowl. Thank you to all of our sponsors, MRU Broadcasting, and of course Nate McKibben for joining us on the show. Tune into Sportsnet The Fan 960 next week at this time as we have some more University Athletics featuring the Mount Royal Cougars. I'm Jordan Magnuson.
And I'm Dylan Dodge, and once again, this show wouldn't have been possible without our director, Landon Wesley, as well as our producer, Spencer Schultz. We hope to have you all tune in next week.